the differences between saturated and unsaturated fats. Hello, this video is about the differences between saturated and unsaturated fats. First of all, let us start by stating the difference between fat and cholesterol. Cholesterol and fats are both lipids, and they are found both in the food you eat and circulating in your bloodstream. Cholesterol has a more complex chemical structure when compared to fats in your body. Cholesterol is bound to protein as low-density lipoprotein, LDL, which is considered to be the bad cholesterol for heart health risks, and high-density lipoprotein, HDL, which is called the good cholesterol for heart health risks. What is saturated fat? Saturated fats are tightly packed fats that are solid at room temperature. Because they contain no double bonds and their chemical structures are known as saturated fats because their structures contain as many hydrogen atoms as possible and they are saturated with hydrogen. Saturated fats are typically found in the following foods: meats, especially red meats like beef, but sometimes pork and poultry, as well. Whole milk and full-fat dairy products like cheese, milk and butter, plant oils like coconut and palm kernel oil, processed meats like sausage, bacon, hot dogs and bologna, packaged and processed foods like crackers, cookies, pastries and chips. While some saturated fat is necessary for your diet, about 5 or 6% of your average daily intake. According to the American Heart Association, too much saturated fat can raise cholesterol levels and increase your store of LDL, the type of cholesterol that causes plaque buildup in the arteries. Because of this correlation, it is possible that a diet rich in saturated fats can lead to health risks like heart disease or type 2 diabetes. The health hazards of high intakes of saturated fats, however, can depend on the type of food source they come from. For example, the National Institutes of Health found that processed meats can increase your risk of cardiovascular diseases, while dairy may decrease it. Why limit saturated fats in your diet? The AHA recommends that less than 5% to 6% of your daily caloric intake consist of saturated fat. Some studies have shown that consuming a high amount of saturated fats may increase your LDL and, therefore, your risk of heart disease. However, there have been multiple studies that refute the detrimental effects of saturated fat. Although the amount of LDL appears to be increased by consuming saturated fats, studies have shown that the type of LDL that is increased is actually the large, buoyant LDL. Larger LDL particles do not appear to increase your risk of heart disease. In contrast, small, dense LDL, the type that has been shown to promote the formation of atherosclerosis in studies, appears not to be affected. In a few cases, the risk was even reduced with saturated fat consumption. Some studies also suggest that the type of saturated fat containing foods can make a difference in your heart health. One large study suggested that consuming dairy products may actually lower the risk of cardiovascular disease. 7 at the same time, including processed meats in your diet could increase your risk of cardiovascular disease. Summary about saturated fats. Saturated fats have no double bonds in their chemical structure. They are saturated with hydrogen atoms. Because of their chemical structure, they have a solid consistency at room temperature. Saturated fats can be found in a variety of foods, including animal meat including beef, poultry, pork, certain plant oils such as palm kernel or coconut oil, dairy products including cheese, butter, and milk, processed meats including bologna, sausages, hot dogs, and bacon, prepackaged snacks including crackers, chips, cookies, and pastries. What is unsaturated fat? Unsaturated fats, which are liquid at room temperature, are different from saturated fats, because they contain one or more double bonds, and fewer hydrogen atoms on their carbon chains. Unsaturated fats come from plants, and occur in the following kinds of foods: olives, olive oils, vegetable oils, canola oils, and plant oils, fish like salmon, anchovies, tuna and others, containing omega-3 fatty acids, nuts and seeds, avocados. If you are wondering whether unsaturated or saturated fats, which are healthier, remember, experts agree that unsaturated fats are the way to go. According to Harvard, unsaturated fats are beneficial to heart health, because they help reduce high cholesterol levels, which prevents conditions like heart disease and stroke. These healthy, natural fats occur in the following two types: monounsaturated fats, consisting of one carbon-to-carbon double bond. Monounsaturated fats can help control blood sugar and insulin levels, as well as lower your cholesterol levels, to decrease your risk of cardiovascular conditions. Doctors recommend replacing as many saturated fats as possible with monounsaturated fats, which can be found in foods like peanut oil, canola oil, olive oil, nuts and seeds, avocados. Polyunsaturated fats containing two or more double bonds in their chemical structures. Polyunsaturated fats are essential to regular body functions, such as covering nerves, building cell membranes, blood clotting, inflammation, and muscle movement, but your body cannot make these fats itself, so it is recommended that you obtain your polyunsaturated fats from your diet. In addition to helping your body perform these vital functions, these types of unsaturated fats lower harmful triglycerides, reduce blood pressure, and increase the right kind of cholesterol. They also prevent heart conditions, and lessen the effect of other health conditions like dementia and rheumatoid arthritis. You can find polyunsaturated fats in foods like fatty fish, walnuts, flax seeds, canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, chia and hemp seeds, and walnut oil. What is unsaturated fat? Unsaturated fats are typically liquid at room temperature. They differ from saturated fats, in that their chemical structure contains one or more double bonds. They can be further categorized as monounsaturated fats. This type of unsaturated fat contains only one double bond in its structure. Monounsaturated fats are typically liquid at room temperature, and include canola oil and olive oil. Polyunsaturated fats. This type of unsaturated fat contains two or more double bonds in their structure. They are liquid at room temperature. Polyunsaturated fats include safflower oil and corn oil. More questions and answers about fats. Which is better, saturated fat or unsaturated fat? Most health organizations and dietary experts recommend eating saturated fats in moderation, and replacing them with unsaturated fats when possible. The American Heart Association, AHA, strongly recommend a saturated fat intake of no more than 5 to 6% of total daily calories. What are fatty foods to avoid? High-fat foods to avoid include fast foods, whipped cream, fatty meats, fried foods, fatty snacks, processed meats, desserts, fatty salad dressings, animal fats, and trans fats. The daily value, DV, for fat is about 70 grams per day. Conclusions: unsaturated fats, which are liquid at room temperature, are different from saturated fats because they contain one or more double bonds and fewer hydrogen atoms on their carbon chains. Unsaturated fats come from plants. Nuts, plant oils such as canola, vegetable or plant oils, certain fish like salmon, tuna, and anchovy, which contain omega-3 unsaturated fatty acids, olives, avocados. Some studies have also shown that consuming a high amount of saturated fats may increase your LDL, and, therefore, your risk of heart disease. However, there have been multiple studies that refute the detrimental effects of saturated fat. Fats to include in your lipid-lowering diet. If you are watching your cholesterol and triglyceride levels, try to include a variety of healthy foods like lean meats, vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains. More research is needed surrounding the influence of unsaturated and saturated fats on cardiovascular disease. Although there has been research suggesting that saturated fats are not as bad for heart health as once thought, the current recommendations still remain in place. Both unsaturated fat and saturated fat are equally energy dense. These can add calories to your meal and weight to your waistline if you consume too much of either one. So it is best to eat them in moderation. Additionally, the type of fat-containing foods you consume can make a difference in your lipid levels. A handful of walnuts, or a lean piece of beef, is a better choice for your meals in comparison to a bag of chips or sausage links. Both may contain fats, but the former choices, lean meat and walnuts, also contain vitamins, minerals, and other healthy nutrients. The latter choices, chips and sausages, may be higher in sugar, chemical preservatives, salt, and trans fats. And all of these can have an adverse effect on your lipid levels and heart health. Summary: unsaturated fats are typically liquid at room temperature are a better alternative. They differ from saturated fats in that their chemical structure contains one or more double bonds. They can be further categorized as monounsaturated fats. This type of unsaturated fat contains only one double bond in its structure. Monounsaturated fats are typically liquid at room temperature and include canola oil and olive oil. Polyunsaturated fats: this type of unsaturated fat contains two or more double bonds in their structure. They are liquid at room temperature. Polyunsaturated fats include safflower oil, sunflower oil, and corn oil. This is the end of our presentation. Thanks for watching. Come again for more anytime. Please like, share, and subscribe. Cheers!